We're off. Welcome to Stand Up with Pete Dominic Daily. Today, my guest is Dean Blundell from Canada. Starts at 14 minutes. Great conversation. You're going to love it. You can also watch it at youtube.com/standupwithpete. Subscribe for free. Get on there. YouTube is great. And I'm trying to invest in Substack as well. So head over and subscribe to my Substack. And I'm going to start going live there as well to see if that makes a difference and impact and helps grow the audience for this podcast, which is a daily show that I produce all on my own. Gives you the best news recap you can find anywhere and constant, brilliant, awesome guests joining me every day on Stand Up. You can't beat it. Join for just $5 a month right now. You can be a paid subscriber and get all the benefits of that, including our Hangouts, which are so fun. I hosted a almost 3-hour Hangout on Monday night, and we had a great time. So rejuvenating, so great to meet and see people where they're at. And not everybody even turns their camera on or says anything. Most probably don't, but stayed there for at least 2.5 hours. Most people did. It was great. We had like 30, 40 people there by still the end. I highly recommend that you stop by these Monday and Thursday at 8 p.m. East Hangouts. If you're not a subscriber, sign up now just for that, if not this award-winning daily podcast. And what awards have it won? Go check the list. I posted a list up there on my award page. Anyway, Dean Blundell is great. We have a great conversation. That is coming up. But let's get to the headlines that I've got for you. I'm already running very late because I stayed up so late last night with many of you. So here is what we are looking at for today, the big stories. I think first, generally speaking, the ones that are the most impactful to the most people we care and look to talk about what's in the public's interest here on this show. How can you make changes in your family and yourself, much less your community, your country, and your planet? That's the charter. That's what I'm doing here, and I cannot do it without your help. So here we go. Stephen Miller yesterday, the White House, I don't know, is he the Dracula in chief? He does everything, but his main focus for a long time has been on making the country whiter. I'll just call it that. So maybe he's the white supremacist in chief. Anyway, apparently yesterday he summoned 50 senior ICE officials from around the country for a crazy meeting about the numbers and that they're not good enough, the deportation numbers. According to a new report from the conservative Washington Examiner, one official after the meeting said that they were threatened and told that their emails and texts and signals are being monitored. He said that's what is horrible about things right now. It's a fearful environment. Everybody in leadership is afraid. There's no morale. Everybody is demoralized. That's at least one official at the meeting, and he can't be speaking for everybody, but maybe. They said Miller came in there and eviscerated everyone. You guys aren't doing a good job. You're horrible leaders. He just ripped into everybody. He had nothing positive to say about anybody. He shot morale down. Stephen Miller wants everyone arrested. Why aren't you at Home Depot? Why aren't you at 7-Eleven? One official stood up and told Stephen Miller that DHS and the White House said they were only supposed to be focused on migrants who had criminal records. Miller said, "What do you mean you're only going after criminals?" Miller got into a little bit of a pissing contest. "That's what Tom Homan says every time he's on TV. We're going after criminals," the ICE official told Miller. Apparently, that's what they say to the public. It's not the same as what they say internally to senior ICE officials. The Richmond Times-Dispatch reported that Department of Homeland Security's controversial list of, quote, sanctuary jurisdictions for immigrants has been taken down from their website. Immigration expert Aaron Reichlin-Melnick, who is getting more and more attention and respect, smart dude, says, quote, the amateurs running DHS put up a list of sanctuary jurisdictions, which included county governments which don't exist, misspelled cities and sheriff's departments which say they do fully collaborate with ICE. The list has already been taken down after an intense pushback. So that is an update on some of the latest around DHS and the horrible actions that Star Destroyer is doing in our country. Sorry for all the Star Wars references, but they can't be missed. The Empire. Plus, I just watched season 2 of Andor, which I highly recommend. So expect more. All right. Well, I really like this story from yesterday. Actually, Barry Ritholtz texted it to me with a text that said, I love this. At least 11 major companies have decided to cut ties with those law firms that surrendered to Trump's executive order extortion attempt. This reporting comes from the Wall Street Journal. A report notes that some of those companies have moved their businesses over the specific firms who are fighting Trump's orders in court. Businesses who have left the law firms include Oracle, Morgan Stanley, an unnamed airline, a pharmaceutical company, and McDonald's. And that is very very good news. And that should matter for the future of other law firms and the present state of those law firms and what they are doing or not doing. So I love that story, and I file that under good news, pushback, resistance. Who thought McDonald's would become part of the resistance? I wouldn't quite qualify them, but good on them. Nonetheless, smart business decision for them, clearly. Trump always caves. Taco Trump is now caving to Iran, apparently, on negotiations over their nuke program, based on new reporting from Axios, Reuters, and other outlets. A senior diplomat close to Iran's negotiators told Reuters that the country is about to reject Trump's administration's nuclear proposal. Iran is drafting a negative response to the U.S. proposal, which could be interpreted as a rejection of the U.S. offer. Maybe that's because the guy negotiating the deal has no idea what he's doing. Steve Witkoff. Apparently, he's offering Iran a new proposal that's much more favorable to Iran, is likely to infuriate other countries in the region, such as Israel. It'll allow limited uranium enrichment, apparently. And Witkoff and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have both said publicly that the U.S. would not allow Iran to enrich uranium and would demand that they completely disband their nuke facility. So I don't know. I'm confused about this negotiation. But the Trump administration is definitely risking a major backlash from their best friends, allies on Capitol Hill and Congress and in Israel. The prime minister of Iran, Netanyahu's government, and dozens of Republican senators have pushed back to the administration to maintain red lines on zero nuclear enrichment and full dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program. So that's a pretty big story yesterday being reported widely. Let's talk about steel. CNBC reported that Trump's announcement Friday that he's going to increase tariffs on steel imports 25 to 50% this Wednesday shocked U.S. businesses who rely on imported steel. One market analyst who focused specifically on steel said this was an absolute surprise. Already steel prices in the U.S. are higher than anywhere else, and we're a net importer, which needs to have volumes coming in. All this does is raise prices there. Automobiles, construction products, appliances are all products that are going to feel the impact. U.S. companies import steel from Canada, Mexico, Brazil, South Korea, and Germany. So we'll see if Taco Trump makes an appearance before tomorrow to cave on the steel tariffs after hearing from all of his big, powerful, smart friends and not just one lunatic in his ear who he met at Fox News. Now let's head to China, who accused the U.S. yesterday of violating the terms of their 90-day trade truce that partially reduced the draconian tariffs put in place after Trump took office. Conversely, Trump is claiming that China totally violated the agreement. NBC is reporting the Chinese Commerce Ministry said that while China had implemented and actively upheld the deal, the U.S. had introduced a series of, quote, discriminatory and restrictive measures against China that severely undermined the agreement. The ministry said that those measures included AI chip export controls and a few other things. So and the White House is saying that China violated I heard Kevin Hassett saying these things on Sunday, that China violated the deal. So anyway, we're very far apart. I heard Scott Bessent say that as well, and that's not good. That's really not good. We might not have seen the pauses in shipping and price increases as early as we thought we would, but I still think it's probably coming. But that's based on nothing. I highly recommend that you pay attention to economists, not me, on that. But that's a prediction I'm going to go ahead and make, and we'll probably be wrong. Well, that's a good thing. Yesterday, Moderna announced this is over the weekend, that the FDA had approved its lower dose COVID-19 vaccine for adults 65 and older, as well as people ages 12 to 64 with at least one medical condition that increases their risk for severe COVID. The approval, which is limited to individuals who have previously received a COVID vaccine, was granted by the FDA on Friday. Ooh, I do not like all of those stipulations. Now let's go to the latest from that guy in Boulder, Colorado. Law enforcement officials said used a makeshift flamethrower to injure 8 people in Boulder, Colorado Sunday, marching for the release of Hamas-held Israeli hostages. Those are the people that he targeted. He's now been charged with attempted murder. The state of Colorado has charged the suspect with 42 accounts, including 8 accounts of attempted first-degree murder after deliberation and 8 counts of first-degree murder with extreme indifference. He was charged earlier on Monday with a federal hate crime as well. So scary out there for Jewish Americans or anybody who is supporting Israel, that they could be attacked in the way that this guy was and the way that that young couple was. in Washington, D.C., 2 weeks ago. It's a really bad time. Really, really bad time. Really terrifying. And Charlie Kirk says that he think it's ridiculous that every Christian and Jewish person is not carrying a gun. So it's a really good idea. Smart. Like, you're not more likely to accidentally hurt yourself than be in a situation where you're going to shoot somebody. The Supreme Court yesterday turned down a challenge to semi-automatic weapon ban, but suggested the court could take up a similar case soon. So temporary good news, but I like it nonetheless. The trial of Dominion's defamation lawsuit against the pillow guy started yesterday. Mike Lindell, he told Rolling Stone, "Of course I'm going to testify at my own trial. I have nothing to hide. I'm a former crack addict. I've always been open about that. I've always been open about everything. I'm transparent as they come. I've got nothing to hide this trial." He also claimed that he's broke, so they won't be getting any money from him. Outside the courthouse, Mike Lindell was asked who masterminded the alleged theft of the 2020 election from Trump, and he said, "Who's behind it all? Oh, Satan. This is a nation that's turned its back on God." And then he claimed that he's being railroaded because the state of Colorado deleted all the evidence that he needed to prove his innocence. So things are going great for that dumb son of a bitch. And apparently a giant plume of Saharan dust from the Sahara Desert is headed across the Atlantic Ocean to Florida. So just in case we didn't have enough terrible, weird weather conditions, especially in Florida, now you guys are going to get a plume of Saharan dust. Good luck. I hope that you can jar some of it up. Well, here's some good news. If you're like me, you love coffee, well, you probably don't hesitate to reach for a third, fourth, or fifth cup of coffee on any given day. How about that? Well, according to a new study, that might be a good thing, writes the New York Times' Matthew Cullen. That's right. Researchers followed a large number of women over several decades and found that those who drank the most caffeine, up to 7 cups of coffee a day in midlife, were 13% more likely to age healthfully than those who consumed the least. So I like studies that tell me what I want to hear, and I don't care about the sources or funding or rigor of the study. I just want to hear what I want to hear, and I liked to hear that. All right, those are the headlines that I've got for you from yesterday's news up until about 7 a.m. on Tuesday. Like I said, I'm running late, so I'm going to jump right to my conversation with Dean Blundell. For those of you that look forward to and love the clips, I'm so sorry. Seriously, I ran out of time. Yesterday was a super busy day. I was running all over the place, and I had a meeting about Farm Jam before the 3-hour hangout, and that went great. By the way, September 5th through 7th, Kevin Richburg has so generously offered up his farm for a retreat. We're going to hang out, barbecues, fun, winery visit, boating. We're going to camp out. We're going to have s'mores every night. Well, some music, I think, and it'll be a great time. And so if you want to come to beautiful upstate New York at the best time of the year, you should consider it. Slate Hill Edible Forest is the name of Kevin's farm. You're going to be able to pick all kinds of berries and fruit off of fruit trees, and we'll have a great old time and learn more about it. There's links to it, information about it in every day's subscriber show notes. And if you have any questions, you can email me about anything. standupwithpete@gmail.com. But right now it's time to get to our friend Canadian Dean Blundell. Wouldn't know about Dean without longtime listener Carlo in Canada. Shout out to Carlo. Dean, of course, an old school radio guy who had an amazing career in Canada and Toronto radio, and now he's a big star on Substack, where you should go and read. He's got these great explainers. He does a great job. Over 24,000 subscribers now on Substack. Check out deanblundell.substack.com. deanblundell.substack.com. You can watch this interview on YouTube if you want. Definitely support his work. Fascinating, interesting guy. We had a great discussion, a lot of laughs as usual. So glad you're here to hear this, and I hope you like it. Let me know. Here we go right now with Dean Blundell. Get a Canadian foreign perspective on things. Canada's own, the legend, Dean Blundell, who I have just become a huge fan of. You know, I like to get foreigners' point of view, so I'm always happy to talk to you, sir. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Nice to be here. Let's start with one question. How's America today?
Oh, it seems pretty bad out there. Seems pretty bad. I have only gone out just early, or it seemed good where I went out, but then I looked at the greatest town in America, considered top town in America by a lot of metrics is Boulder, Colorado. And yesterday, a guy there spit fire on people, apparently, and made a homemade flamethrower and tried to kill Jewish people. And apparently now we find out he's a Muslim and a foreigner. So it seems like we've got ourselves a trifecta in America's greatest town. So it's like a perfect narrative for media and for the right to tell us, my question is, why did no one tackle that dude? He didn't seem like that daunting.
Oh, that was the dude with the shirt off? The guy that was walking around with a Molotov cocktail and yeah.
The question, how it's going in America, I don't know. Let's check in with America's greatest town. Good God!
It's funny, Pete, and really happy I'm back on Stand Up with Pete Dominic. I love talking to you. I love crossing the border and having conversations with real Americans. And I took a break, a much needed mental health break, went to Italy for a couple of weeks. By the way, was on Mount Etna. It exploded today. I'm like, oh my God, I was there last week. Thank God I left. And I met a ton of Americans, right? Number one destination for Americans is Italy. That's where they go. There's a big Italian-American contingent. The diaspora was built, America was built by Italians, right? So anyway, the great connection there. The Sangiovese family introduced the groups, the grapes that you grow and use for all of your wine to George Washington. We were at the Matze distillery. And so there's a real connection to America. So a lot of Americans there, right? Sitting at the pool in this really nice villa that we were at. And it was in Taormina, which is in Sicily.
Oh, yeah. I've been there.
Yeah. White Lotus was filmed there, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Season 2. Yeah.
No room on the beach for the riffraff. I'll tell you that right now.
No, there wasn't. Lucky enough, I was, I pretended to not be riffraff for that week. So it was good. It worked out.
Look at you.
So I'm in this lounger and we're by the pool. We had a busy few days and everybody's just kind of sitting around having a cocktail. And this American family comes up. Really nice lady. She's a lawyer in California. He's a lawyer in California. They're over there picking up their daughter who was working and going to school abroad for a couple of years. And so we got into a conversation and she's like, well, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Canada. And the first words out of this wonderful woman's mouth was like, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry for what we've done. I'm so sorry for what our president is doing. I'm just sorry. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like this isn't happening to us. This is happening to you. And that conversation repeated itself about a dozen times when people found out I was from Canada. And so it was beautiful to connect with real Americans like I like connecting with you. I did have a run-in with some Trumpers. That was over dinner at a winery in just outside of Chianti. San Felice is the name of this little town. And these people were talking about Trump and how he's going to balance the books and the old money, right? And so they walk over to us and they're like, oh, how you doing? Where are you from? I said, Toronto. And they go, oh, our 51st state.
How did you react?
I said, yeah, no, not your 51st state. I said, you guys live in the 11th province. And they're like, what's a province? And I'm like, I'm clearly not having this conversation with people.
I'm surprised they made it to Italy. Good for them. When I think about Americans in Italy, I do think about a lot of conservative Italians, because when I think about American Italians, I think of Trumpers. And, I count myself as an American Italian and spent a lot of time in Italy. My ex-wife is from there. So, and in Sicily, even more specifically. So I'm glad that you met Americans that were not necessarily Trumpers. That's cool. But obviously, so is your entire perspective here. So people apologize because that didn't used to happen. The conversation when you met Americans used to be different. It didn't start with an apology, I don't think.
No, it was always, anytime I met an American before, they're like, oh, we love Canadians, right? Which was also reiterated. But that was the second thing that they said. The first thing they said was, we're really sorry. And I'm like, no, you don't have to be sorry. We get it. I mean, we're with you. And that was really incredible too, because a lot of Americans that apologize for some unknown reason. We're so grateful to hear that Canadians love Americans still, and we can make that difference with a distinction, right?
For sure. Yeah. And most people can. Some people, a lot of people have erased all nuance from conversation and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Purity tests and always. But I think that's for certain, most people can hopefully still start and end where you're saying. Now, the last time we talked was shortly after your election.
Yep.
I know that we talked since your prime minister came and handled Trump better than anybody else has, a real masterclass. Maybe we did. Maybe we talked briefly. But how has the relationship been, and how has Canada been, since the election as it relates to America? Like, what's the talk about America, much less maybe I'm just being American somewhere else? Because it seems like you guys are pretty invested in relationships with other people now.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the last time we talked, Carney just won the election, as you pointed out, and just paid a visit to the Oval Office, as you point out, and an absolute fucking masterclass. I thought he was just phenomenal.
Yeah,
he basically 3 minutes and 48 seconds. It's all he needed to literally bring that man to his knees and tell him, yeah, never, never, never. So suck it. And the bloviating after that obviously was something that we talked about here for quite some time. But he's a man of very few words and all action. That's what Mark Carney does. It's who he is. He's not liberal, nor is he conservative. Sure, he ran for the Liberal Party, but he's got very progressive, socially progressive values and very conservative, fiscal ideas. And so I think, the way the relationship has sort of evolved is, I think the book's out on Trump. We're not afraid of him anymore. And the rhetoric and the disrespect and the 51st state bullshit, whatever. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. And I unfortunately have some bad news for Americans, is that we will not be taking part in your Golden Missile Space Monster Dome. That was a lie. Donald Trump said, hey, $61 billion and you get the dome for free. And we're like, hey, fuck you. So, I mean, we all laugh at that stuff.
Oh, it doesn't rain here. You're the target. You're the one asking to be fucking bombed. We're over here minding our own goddamn business. We don't need your dome protection. If you're not being an asshole, you don't have to worry about locking your doors all the time.
It's funny. It's like one of those conversations that you see people on Twitter have. It's like, the chest thumping Americans, like, our military is way bigger than yours. And we're like, and we've been protecting you for years. Show me one example of that.
Well, my answer to that would so quickly be like, yeah, but if you're really worried about what's going to kill you, if you're more worried about a terrorist attack than a heart attack, you've been completely duped. So you're not going to get killed in the fucking terrorist attack. You're definitely going to get diabetes, you piece of shit. And when you do, you're going to want to be able to afford. I'm sorry. I don't mean no offense to anybody. It's not your fault that you got diabetes.
Some people it's their fault, dude. Type 2 is your fault. Yeah. Sure.
No, I'm not. No, I won't even say that. I'm sensitive to that because I was a personal trainer for 7 years. So I have thoughts around food and psychology and all of it. So you won't even, I'm very, but yeah, I made the joke. The point being healthcare. I'd rather have healthcare. I'd rather have insurance than an aircraft carrier, which is doing nothing for me but losing friends.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, if we're going to parse how Canada feels about the United States today as opposed to, when Trump took office. So we've had 4 months of watching him run around, pretend like he's going to tariff people, courts strike it down, USCIT, another district court in D.C. struck it down. He gets a stay of execution, says he's still tariffing. Canada knows that we don't have to do fucking shit. We don't have to do anything for this guy. And to the point where, all this stuff that he tweets and the shocking statements and the pronouncements of tariffs and, who he's going to invade next and all the other, we just laugh at it now. We're that group in the corner. It's like, oh yeah, continue doing your thing. We're just going to continue to laugh. We're going to continue to mock.
Why does it feel like it's rolling off your back? I mean, markets are markets. It's not like the choices that our government are making don't affect you negatively. I don't understand why you're being so blasé and nonchalant about us making life harder.
Because life hasn't been made that much harder. We've just turned it into a perceptive reality that it will and that it has. And I'll point to a couple of economic indicators that would probably prove that out. Your GDP went down 1.41%, minus 1.41%.
On my show and attack my GDP.
Yeah, no, it's a Twitter fight now. Don't fucking talk about our GDP, dickhead. Our GDP went up surprisingly 2.2%. We've increased trade from trading exclusively with the United States. We've boosted it from 3% outside of the United States to 24%, almost 25%. We sell more oil on the open market than America does now, and that is completely inverse. We're managing to not just save jobs, but subsidize industries. Tariffs that Donald Trump said he was going to tag us with, we haven't been tagged with. What little people know about these tariffs is there's nothing on paper. It's all made up. And so this is just bloviating and bullshit. And we've been through it. Our economy is as strong as it's going to get in a global economic downturn when you've got this asshole running around telling everybody we got to pay extortion fees to do business with the United States. China has outed him. Mark Carney has outed him. The UK, France, every EU country has outed all of these tariffs as a joke. And so, we've managed to be able to pivot large parts of our economy that had some dependence and a lot of dependence economically on free trade with the United States. And so we're not hurting as much as Americans are hurting. We're not hurting like everybody thought we would, to the point where, when you go and work out, you haven't worked out for a long time. By the way, I did F45 a couple times, boot camps. I haven't worked out for like 7 years, and I was dreading it. And I'll kind of just give you this Cole's Notes kind of explanation, is that, I go into this class and I'm fucking petrified because I haven't done it. I don't know what's coming, don't know how hard it's going to be. I get to the end of the workout and I'm like, that wasn't that bad. Actually really enjoyed it. And then I go do another one the next day and I'm like, I'm sore. It feels good. It is paid dividends for me. And now I'm on a bit of a heater where I really enjoy the pain that comes with it, because it's providing me solutions in my life, my health life, my mental life, my emotional life. And so that's really kind of what we've gone through up here with these 4 months of your president trying to pretend that we're not a real country and we'd be better under the United States. And you've got this sweet missile dome for us. And these tariffs never really happened. And so Canada was really smart. We diversified trade. We're announcing on July 1st a new security pact. We're moving away from militarizing in any capacity with the United States. All of those contracts, F-35s, munitions, anything to do with our dollar, 75% of our military dollar we're spending in the United States, that's all going overseas now. And so, we're in the process of rebuilding. And as we rebuild, providing people with these jobs, using our natural resources to our most incredible advantage, which is how do we get the shit out of here? And so we're increasing shipping lanes. We're cutting a big swath across the top of Canada to do that. Mark Carney is literally engaging with every premier of this country right now to make sure that we can get rid of all the bureaucracy and red tape so that we can sovereignly manage ourselves economically and manage ourselves militarily as well. So that's why Canada hasn't seen the pain, is because we're focused on unity and we're focused on building. So,
wow, you should run for something.
I'm running for my fucking life right now, Pete.
Personal trainer in chief, because you working in your fitness analogy as to what it takes to get there was a real impressive feat. I mean, gosh, that's fascinating, man. That is so interesting. I didn't know, first of all, a lot of what you're just talking about, the shipping path that apparently you guys are going to destroy precious forests, and I'm sure plenty of species will go extinct, and not to mention, I'm sure some indigenous tribe that you don't give a shit about. But still, that's a big deal to come together on probably a controversial but an initiative that is going to be huge for shipping, but also just the investment into the rest of the world's markets seemingly sounds like without around us, without thinking about us, except for good faith partners in this industry or that or something, I don't know, or traditional relationships that you might have. But it also just seems like, and I wonder if there's measurements for, you've moved on past our products. It wasn't just maybe a temporary boycott, but that insult ain't going away. That emotional scar of the minimizing, marginalizing of your country by our leader and 30% of his supporters being okay with it or whatever it is makes you feel like, you know what, fuck that. We're never buying your shit again, assholes.
Yeah. Well, dude, you bring up a good point. I mean, the boycott of America isn't just a Canadian-led thing. I mean, you've got a bunch of countries that have said no. Germany yesterday put out another travel advisory to the United States. Not sure if you saw this, where they didn't just tell people to not go there. And if they had to go there, make sure your papers are in order, take a burner phone, all that other shit. They told German citizens to leave. They're like, if you're a German national, you should probably come home pretty soon. It's not going to get any better before it gets worse.
Yeah, I read about that. I read about that at your Substack, which I'm scrolling across the screen for people watching. I'm getting fancy here, but I wouldn't have known that. And it's not you in your Substack. You talk about all the other countries as well. This piece, the world is warning its citizens about the U.S. And here's why. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I mean, certainly any category of, just LGBTQ folks, like, it's Pride Month here. Is it Pride Month everywhere?
Everywhere. Yeah. Yeah. North America Pride Month. You bet.
They force their sexuality down our throats, Dean.
Yeah. I had a fight with a dude the other day. He was talking about Pride Month. It wasn't really a fight. It was more of a, one-handed conversation, but he was talking about how he's sick of all the Pride stuff. And every time Pride Month comes around, he gets angry because he goes to the bank machine to take cash out. And it says, this bank supports inclusiveness. And it's got, and he's like, I don't want no goddamn pride flag on my ATM. And I'm like, yeah, that's because you're soft, dude. That's your problem.
I got in a fight with a guy the other day too about it. He's like, why do we have to have Pride Month? And he's like really started screaming at me. And then like it ends up with him sucking my dick. Super weird for both of us.
Dude, yeah. I just spit my water out. I wasn't expecting that. I was just taking a drink.
Dude, that was such a great, because I saw you take a sip. I'm like, oh, yes, wind up for a real
Yeah, I mean, we live in a caustic time. I mean, it's not just fuck. I mean, the world's burning. Russia's trying to run roughshod. Ukraine attacks Russia deep in Russia's zone. And yesterday, drone took out like a third of their fucking aviation bombing force. And front page news on Fox News was about how Donald Trump was talking about, to a bunch of steel workers about, lesbian volleyball players. And I was like, my God. I mean, this is the world that we live in where, the wrong people focus on the wrong things to keep you focused on the wrong things.
They want to end funding for California's public schools or something. All of them, more people in that state than your whole country because of one trans girl who's running track. I mean, it's wild. Yeah, there's that. He also, they just forced the United States Senate just voted to prevent a state, which usually conservatives don't do, right? The federal government is telling a state, California, that they can't have their CAFE standards, their environmental standards that they voted on for energy, cars, EVs specifically. So now California, they're changing California and their laws, and it brings California more pollution. The main thing was the pollution. It's a great, not only that, we're not investing in the clean energy technology, which is the future, the best future investment. And we're investing in old technology. How do you have the top economy if you're not building the top technology? We can't be that. I've said enough.
No, it's the focus. It's rolling back time, right? It's trying to give, fossil fuel magnates as much time as they can to cash in as quickly as they can. It is, it's a fight between Donald Trump and the Trump regime, and they're not an administration. They're a fucking regime. And every progressive value and every progressive state and human rights and habeas corpus. And, it is how do we enrich the people that put me here to the point where, it not only doesn't make any sense, it kills the environment, it kills people. And I run out of words sometimes, Pete, when I watch what Trump is trying to accomplish. When I watch and I don't watch the news, but when I sit and listen to the rhetoric that comes out of any one of his Trump regime backers' mouths, and it's not just in the United States. I don't know if you watched or if you know anything about CPAC, but CPAC is now a national, international movement. And in
CPAC 4 or 5 times I attended as a member of the media, but now it's become international. Mm-hmm. The conservative, I forget, the Public Action Committee or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
And the guy, one of the founders is, what's his name? The guy who's in all kinds of trouble for assaulting men and then saying he's not gay. Matt Schlapp, isn't that?
Matt Schlapp. Yeah, he's in charge of CPAC. Yeah, Matt Schlapp, who likes to get it on with his interns, male interns, by the way. So Kristi Noem, that dog-killing Barbie, Kristi Noem, your Homeland Secretary.
Plane, apparently, like a multi-million-dollar.
Yeah, dude, she goes to Poland and campaigns for.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who just won the presidency, and he won. You know, this is full court press. This is how do we spread this disease? How do we take the world back into a time where, you know, the people who support us, the old school colonial dickheads who support us, captains of industry who support us, get exactly what they want. And you know, it's amazing to me that nobody's picking up on this stuff. Like, Kristi Noem said she went to Poland to have constructive meetings with the Prime Minister, Donald Tusk. No, she didn't. She went there to do the, fascist bidding to try and get the president of Poland, specifically the guy who won, who is fascist and a Trumper, tried to get him in office, and it fucking worked. Dude, it worked. And so, it's not just your country. It's not just the United States that's been captured by this. It's this seesaw battle between literally good and bad, not progressives versus the right. It's not leftists versus the right. It is fascism versus fucking everybody else. Absolutely everybody else.
Totally agree. And I like, if we're going to make it if we have to make it a binary, that would be an important one to choose, I think, for sure. And people need to understand what fascism is. And we're learning every single day on the streets of America as these law enforcement officers without uniforms are just snatching people off of the street and arresting kind of whoever they wanted. Yesterday at a congressman's office, there was a protest outside of an immigration court. Mm-hmm. People from the congressman's office were there. And then they all went and hid in the congressman's office. They were kicked out by the cops. They were threatened of being arrested for loitering. So they leave. And then the guy chases a woman down and goes into the congressman's office and puts handcuffs on him, looking for these people. He says that they're rioters. It's this kind of stuff. That's every day we're seeing. I'm just illustrating one not very well example of it, but every day we're seeing fascism play out in America in all its ways. And it's terrifying to see it spread around the world. But of course, it's got so much resistance. And so, they're not winning elections everywhere. Saw what happened, obviously, in Australia. There's been a slowing, arguably, even in Germany and France, obviously, some of Latin America. And, it's winning where it wins and loses. I feel like we take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but it is terrifying every day. And we can't stop doing everything you can to stop it, right? Prevent it. You guys seem to do a pretty good job up there in Canada. What do you see that we don't? You have a different sense of morality and media?
No, we've got Captured Media here. Like, the biggest newspaper company in Canada is actually owned by the Pecker Group, as a matter of fact. Chatham Asset Management, they own the National Post. They own pretty much every daily. So we have a major foreign mega MSM problem. We've got a conservative MSM problem. But Canadians are built different. When we see injustice, we go and do something about it. And you go talk about those ICE videos just for a second. Have you seen anybody picked up? Have you seen any of these trucks rolling around?
I'm talking about how these videos are affecting us emotionally. When you go and you see one of these videos, what I'm hearing from listeners and friends is that they had a really bad day yesterday. Why? I saw one of those videos and the rest of my day wasn't the same, or weekend even, or just period. It's just like a gray cloud hanging over us, knowing that this is happening in the streets of all types of communities in America. It is heart-wrenching and heartbreaking. And then when you're done with the sadness, depends on the stages of grief, you get to ferocious anger and wanting justice and against this injustice. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I appreciate that context. I meant in terms of IRL, in real life. Have you seen it? Because,
oh, no,
it is so foreign.
But I haven't seen it. But today I took my daughter to brunch because I'm a good father and I hadn't seen her in a while. She's 20 and lives in the city. And I saw all these cop cars lined up and I was worried that was what I was about to see or think I was seeing, but it was an accident. But the point is, I now think that it wouldn't be surprising and I'm scared to see it. Like I'm getting ready to see it. And that's not a country I want to live in either. I watched Andor season 2.
Don't tell me what happens. I haven't seen it yet, and I haven't caught up on Last of Us yet.
Just look outside of America.
Well, and listen, these are videos that bring me to my knees, and as Canadians, where we will fight each other, but we will fight for each other's human rights before we'll fight for anything else. Right? It doesn't matter if you believe something I don't. And I see these people in the United States taking videos out of their front window or their bay window, secretly recording these ICE agents, 20 of them knocking down a house so they can go in and get a 70-year-old woman from Ecuador who happens to be illegal or might have overstayed her visa. You see construction workers on the site getting attacked and tackled and tasered by these ICE agents. And it is not just inhumane. It is FSB. It's Soviet FSB, KGB. It is SS shit. It is brown shirt shit. And, we had this conversation. I put a tweet out about it. And as a matter of fact, there's a Substack post about it that I put out, deanblundell.substack.com, that talked about who these ICE agents are. And effectively, for people like us in Canada, we look at those ICE agents as if they're fucking legitimately just Trump brown shirts. We see what goes on, the lack of habeas corpus, no due process, no legal rights, no legal basic human rights. The ACLU's handcuffed. They can't do anything. The judges aren't doing anything, even though they're siding for the law and for people that are being sent out with a lack of due process. But they can do nothing about it. And you're in the scariest fucking timeline. In my 52 years of living next to that beautiful country we used to regard as the freest city on the hill. And so for us, it's a mind fuck, and it's a reminder not to mess with, not to invite in to the Canadian tent any human being who thinks that's cool, who thinks hurting individuals, destroying lives, sending innocent Americans to CCOT, which is a fucking concentration camp in El Salvador. It's a work camp. It's fucking the Latin American gulag where they will never get out because of the color of their skin when they came, or the fact that you want to be made an example out of, right? That's really what is going on in the United States of America.
Yeah, we're sending people also to countries they're not even from.
Yeah.
Which was never a thing, as my understanding. I mean, who would agree to that? Why would another country?
You're sending Americans. You're sending American citizens.
Well, those people deserve to be sent. There's just a few. Why am I in Sudan? I just wrote an essay, pro-Palestinian essay, and now I'm living in Rwanda all of a sudden. You know what it's like here, actually.
Yeah, Sudan? Yeah, I mean,
we're trying to get supported.
Well, and that's the thing is it doesn't make any sense to us. We haven't seen this before. We've seen it in videos from the 30s and the 40s, Russia, 60s, 70s, 80s. You've seen it from, dictatorial pariah states in third world countries. You see it in China, not in the United States of America. And it's not just one instance, Pete. It's happening everywhere, every fucking day.
I mean, you read all these experts, historians who've written about authoritarianism. They all pretty much say, the main mistake is thinking that it can't happen here, that it cannot happen here. And, I still have a hard time believing that what is happening and the way it's happening. And it always looks different. I think that's important to always make sure that we mention that it's different everywhere. But what it creates is this type of fear and this hush on free speech. It is our own kind of authoritarianism, and it's bad. And we can talk specifically about it, obviously. I got to ask you two more specific things I wanted to ask your take on, which one, I know you're paying attention to, or just your thoughts on Elon Musk, this whole South Africa thing, and the fact that he now is gone. You guys had a fun talk about his black eye. He's on so many drugs.
Yeah.
And it's so visible. People, I always try not to judge when again, I'm sensitive about that as well as food and diet. I know you're not. You hate addicts and people who overeat, but I don't. And but he is so overtly, he has such an impact on our lives. A, and B, his head's spinning up.
Dude, did you see that Oval Office presser? Did you see it?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
Did you see how fucking cooked he was?
I never looked at Trump. I watched it and only looked at him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the drug report from the New York Times and every other major daily came out the day before that. And then he's like, okay, I'm done. And I don't know if you watched the reporter who asked him the question. Yeah, so just a quick question. Are you always cooked on ketamine and psilocybin? Are you fucked all the time? And he's like, "Who? That was from the New York Times." He just ripped a page out of Trump's discredit book, right? He's like, "No, the New York Times, they should have the Pulitzer taken away." Never answered the question. Stared up at the ceiling. Was fidgeting. He was eating his shoulder at one point. I was like, "The guy's so fucked. It's awesome." And it was like the day before. And there's a great little article on it on my Substack as well, where you can actually see the still shots of what it's like to be smoked on ketamine in the Oval Office. And by the way, that's been happening for 3 to 4 years. Like, he has been on this drug bender for 3 to 4 years. And listen, Canada's done with Elon Musk too. I have a feeling that Canada is going to start, seriously banning Starlink or talking about banning Starlink. In Quebec, Tesla sales are down 85% across Canada. They're down 65%. Tesla dealerships are closing shop here in Canada as well. So like, Canada has no love for the dude. And it's only because he gives us a bad name. His mom brought him here to go to school. They bought their Canadian citizenship, and then he smuggled himself into the United States, where he was also an illegal fucking alien, and started to take government money. So, and he put out a tweet, when Trump was doing the 51st state shit. It was like, Canada's not a real country. And oh yeah, dude. Yeah, Canada's not a real country. And like I said, you can do a lot of things to Canadians. One thing you can't do is insult us, insult our country and our sovereignty. Like I said, we'll beat the shit out of each other. You try to hop in the fight and try to help. We'll beat the shit out of you. We'll stop beating each other. We'll beat the shit out of you, and then we'll go back to beating each other. That's who we are. So, yeah, there's no love for Elon at all. And Canada's on an anti-Elon heater to the point where there's a petition that got about 1.4 million signatures to remove his fucking citizenship, to take it away from him. So
that'd be awesome.
That'd be great.
Well, you're not a real country. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I know. We try. We're not like you. We're not a real country. That's what he said. Not a real country. And here's the other thing. Do you know anything about his grandfather?
Yeah, wasn't he a white South African racist? Yeah,
no. So he was originally Canadian, and he got
out of Canada being a Nazi, I think.
Well, he got arrested for organizing Nazi rallies in Saskatchewan.
No, that's not that bad. I thought he was a Nazi. Maybe he was just a producer.
Oh no, he was making waves. He was going to
just rented tents and did events.
No, he was doing the Nazi rally stuff. And so after the war ended, I'm not even kidding. His name's Josh Haldeman. You got to look the dude up.
I read about him at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. So what he did was he got arrested, charged with conspiracy, trying to incite riots, that kind of shit. A couple years after the war ended, he's like, fuck this place. I'm out of here. 'Cause he got a brochure for the whitest place in the world being South Africa, and the Boer Revolution and all the Afrikaners that were going there to set up a technocracy, like a techno state. And they come on in, help us out. So he went over there. He got himself a red plane, and Elon's mom was his daughter, and he's just tooling around, stealing money and, doing land deals with different African tribes, and literally was, one of the guys that kickstarted the apartheid movement. So, yeah, there's some serious racial undertones there for sure.
He's such a piece of shit. What did you guys decide on? What's the best conspiracy theory about that eye injury? Do we know anything? Somebody must know.
Yeah. Did you see him leave? Did you see him? You know who Stephen Miller is?
Stephen Miller that works in the Trump administration?
Yeah. That psycho Goebbels.
I talk about it a lot, but he's actually my cousin. That's why we look so.
Oh, wow. You guys do look a lot. Oh, you're both bald. Yeah. You don't look anything like him, dude. You just don't have any hair.
Yeah, of course I know who he is.
Yeah. So, couple of.
Is what kind of a.
Sorry, dude. I didn't know if you knew.
I can only name two more. Go ahead.
All right. So there was a video of him leaving the White House with Stephen Miller's wife the other day. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, yeah, no, there's been plenty of jokes about that. That's just immediately. Yeah, he's leaving. Stephen Miller's wife is leaving the Trump administration to work for
Elon.
So that's a fun one to just.
Yeah. So, they're saying it's one of two things. It's either, he and Stephen Miller got in a dust up, or Scott Bessent, who, be interested to watch him throw a punch, or at the very least make a fist. They got in a dust up.
Right out, sir. Don't ask me. Do you want to have fisticuffs with me, my friend? That's my lesson. But yeah, they got in a physical altercation. Yeah. He pushed him.
Yeah. Well, he pushed him, and then there's someone took a swing. And so, now Elon's got a black eye. And there was a rumor that, a well-founded rumor that Elon's been giving the Musk, if you will, to Stephen Miller's wife, and they're on the outs, and she's going to work with Elon Musk. So lots of conspiracies, but it's one of those two things.
Rumor. I think our journalistic threshold is a little different. Even though I hate a person, I'm not going to necessarily spread a rumor. Is there any actual reporting other than what we want it to be?
Yeah, no, just those two things. And I want both of them to be fucking absolutely true.
Sir, here on the Pete Dominic channel, I will not lower myself to the standard of the Blundells just wanting.
I'm not. See, here's the thing. Those are the only two logical explanations other than, like, how does a fucking 55-year-old, mega billionaire, richest guy in the world get a fucking black eye? I mean, it's someone stroked him in the side of the head. Like, that's what that injury is.
His 5-year-old. He said, I believe the true story.
Oh, okay. Might have been.
I believe he told his son to hit him, and his son's like, yeah, how about for about 1 billion people? Here it comes, Pop. Hit him with his little paw. Like, who tells their kid to hit himself? Hit me in the face. Like, I never told my dad to hit me in the face. I taught them both to fight, but that's not how. Yeah. I told them to hit their mother. No.
That's
nice. Who does that? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's because it's not fucking true, dude. Like, that's why the only two plausible explanations are he and Scott Bessent got in a Barbie fight, or, maybe he's plugging Stephen Miller's wife.
Honestly, though, that's the threshold. If it were true that Scott Bessent punched him, we will find out how he got that eye injury. We'll find out. But if it were true that Scott Bessent did it, it would have leaked. There's no way it wouldn't have leaked unless it was just the two of them in a room. And I don't think that's ever the case with those two. I'm going to give you a knuckle sandwich, Elon.
You're going to get it, you say? You're really going to get it this time, Elon. Oh, boy, oh, boy.
Ask you about is, I don't know how much you pay attention to the war in Russia. I guess I want to pose it this way. The reporting is it cost $50,000. This operation had been underway for a year and a half to send trucks on train tracks, I think, deep into Russia. The trucks open up, drones fly out 3 miles away from an airbase, and these little drones with little warheads on them, payloads on them, blow up planes that can carry nuclear warheads, and they can't rebuild these planes. Like the success of this operation, the time it had planned, the low cost of it and the low tech of it, what it says to me is that the leadership there, A, is smart, and B, airtight. I mean, I don't know much, but this is a huge turning point. When Trump yelled and tried to humiliate Zelensky in the Oval Office, said, you don't have the cards. But yesterday it was kind of trending. I think Adam Kinzinger said it first, like, it seems like he's got the cards. What are your thoughts on that operation and the war and anything else around it?
Yeah, Operation Spiderweb is the name of it. Again, you can go and read about it. I kind of put the what's what and the who's who behind how this whole thing happened at my Substack.
I bring it up. Sorry, go to
No. It's all good. It's just a great little explainer, right? And so, historic attack on Russia's, strategic logistical aviation fleet. These are all bombers, long-range bombers that you point out. They could carry a nuclear payload. They took out 34% in an afternoon. 34% of Russia's long-range bombers that were being used to inflict heavy damage on the civilian population of Ukraine. They started planning this 18 months ago. And to your point again, what did they do? They said, listen, we just need these FP drones. These are first-person drones. These are visual drones. It's no big deal. They cost $200 each. And so they fundraised and used private money to buy 112 drones. They put bombs underneath them. And then they carved out these cargo containers that you would attach to a semi-trailer and put these secret little hiding spots at the top where the roof opened up after Ukraine managed to con 6 Russian cargo truck drivers into strategically parking these cargo units near air bases all around Russia, some closer to Mongolia, like 5,000 fucking kilometers from the front. That's how deep they went. And at the exact same time, the top of these cargo buses, the cargo containers opened up, and these drones autonomously lifted out, some operated by FPV people. And by the way, a lot of gamers are being recruited from around the world to do this. So it's
Really?
fucking, yeah. It's like Call of Duty, but for real. Like, you're like, oh my God. So yeah, they got a massive like gamer soldier division, right? It's super cool. So they took these drones and flew them directly into, I think it was 40 or 41 long-range bombers. Now, they only have about 10 left because the rest are being serviced. And to your point, they don't make any of these bombers anymore. Discontinued. They were bootstrapping these bombers over the past several years just to get as much out of them as they could while they tried to build a new bomber fleet, which they can't right now because they're pot committed trying to fucking, just do whatever they can to send anything they can to the front line. And so, long story short, not only was this the most successful military, strategic military attack in Ukraine's history, it was one of the most successful strategic military attacks of all time. It took out $7 billion worth of Russian hardware. And to your point, it cost 61,000 American dollars to do it.
It's very well explained. Also, the explainers on your Substack seem like you have a team of journalists putting them together. They're really well done. So lots of reasons to go subscribe and even pay. DeanBlundell.substack.com. I know you got to go. I do applaud you.
I missed you, Pete.
Well, thank you for joining me. I really love talking to you, and it's important.
I love talking to you, buddy.
And I really like you, period.
I like you, maybe too much.
Maybe. I don't think that's the case. Yeah, there'll be boundaries, I'm sure. But I do think it's bold that you openly vape.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm 52. I don't give a shit anymore.
Is it nicotine or?
No, it's just nicotine. Yeah.
So many ways to deliver it now.
I know. I was going to get onto those Zyn packages, like kids are on those.
I've never smoked, but I think I want to try those. What do those do?
These Zyns, it's like chew. You put a little pack of chew in.
It will kill you slowly, right? Though.
Yeah. Well, everything will kill you slowly, Pete.
Double baloney. You're right.
Yeah. You just eat enough farmer sausage, that'll kill you slowly. You vape, that'll kill you slowly.
Farmer sausage. Dean Blundell, everybody, thank you very much. He's got to go. I appreciate you joining me, man.
Love you, baby. Talk to you soon. Bye.
There you go. Go subscribe to his Substack.
All right, that's the end of the interview. Go watch and subscribe for free on Substack, on YouTube, to me and to Dean. And thank you very much for being here. Let us know what we can do for you. We like to serve you, the listener and subscriber. And I don't know who I'm saying we, but the community comes together. So if you need something, reach out. Let us know. Thanks for being here today. I will talk to you tomorrow. You can check in with me live later when I'll be talking with Mariah Blake, who's an author and investigative journalist, out with a very, very important new book. They Poison the World, Life and Death in the Age of Forever Chemicals. That'll be, I think, at noon. Check in with us at noon on YouTube today if you're still listening, you bumblebees, here at the end. So grateful, so thankful, filled with gratitude for you. And John Carroll, who sings us in and out every day. Go buy his new album, johncarroll.org.
Stand up, you gotta stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear when all you hear is a lie. Don't get up off of your butt, get down off off of your fence. And even if